see what I see. Who's there?
Don't move. Don't scream. And whatever you do, don't breathe. Don't breathe.
I'm explaining a film from 2016, Don't Breathe. Spoilers ahead. Enjoy the content. The scene starts with Rocky, Alex, and Money, three Detroit delinquents, who sustain themselves by breaking into houses and stealing valuables. Rocky wants to go to California with her younger sister, Diddy, to escape their harsh mother and her alcoholic lover. Alex declines to accompany them due to his father's ownership of a security firm. When Money sells stuff to his fence Raul, he pays him very little and says that if they want money, they can take it. Money receives a tip from Raul, who informs his buddies about Gulf War veteran Norman Nordstrom, who allegedly has $300,000 in cash in his abandoned house. The money is part of a settlement after Cindy Roberts, a wealthy young woman, killed Norman's daughter in a car accident. Alex is hesitant about stealing the cash since it could implicate his father in a police investigation, given that the house falls under his dad's security company. Later, Alex gets a text from Rocky requesting him to do it for her. He checks about it on the internet and gets confirmed that the tip is correct. The scene shifts to Rocky's house, where she receives a text from Alex, agreeing to go through with the plan. Now, the three of them keep a close watch on the house. Money returns with information that at least 4 blocks around the target house are unoccupied, implying a low police presence. However, their planning is interrupted by a barking dog, which startles them. They discover that the dog belongs to Norman, and they also realize that Norman is blind. That night at 2 a.m., they return with the intention of robbing the house. To deal with the dog, Money puts a pill in a piece of meat and tosses it towards the dog, which it consumes. Now they jump the door and go inside to find the side door and find that the dog is asleep. Rocky notices a small window and suggests she can enter through it. Once inside, she disarms the alarm with the gadget given by Alex. Following that, she opens the door for the others, and they all begin searching the home. Money goes upstairs to Norman's chamber, where he sleeps. He puts chloroform into a bottle, making a hole in it, but then discovers Norman is awake and gazing at him. Money is afraid, but Norman switches off the TV and returns to sleep. Money then gently lays the bottle down and leaves the room. He then goes to others and informs them that the person is gassed out and sleeping. They see that there is a big lock on one of the doors and they think that the money is in there. Money tries to break that lock but it does not open. After this, Money takes out a gun, but both Alex and Rocky express their disapproval, with Alex stating that bringing a gun gives Norman the legal right to shoot them. Alex insists they need to leave, but Rocky doesn't listen and Money proceeds to shoot and break the lock. Upset with this, Alex decides to leave, declaring that he's out. Meanwhile, Norman comes downstairs after hearing the gunshot, and to deal with the situation, Money explains that he was wasted and accidentally wandered in, and he's just going to leave. However, Norman discovers the broken lock on the floor, and Money, now holding the revolver, insists that he knows what's inside and will not go without it. He advises Norman not to take a single step. Despite the warning, Norman approaches him with both hands raised and forward. Rocky, unable to understand Norman's behavior, shoots a shot into the air in an attempt to scare him. He believes this would intimidate Norman, but Norman suddenly rushes him, overpowers him, and places his gun on him. Money pleads for his life, but Norman, now in command, questions him about the number of invaders. Money claims it's just him and begs to be let go. Norman loosens his grip on him, but then he suddenly shoots him, killing him instantly, and Rocky becomes terrified witnessing this. After some time, Alex comes inside to check where he comes face to face with Norman, but he narrowly avoids him. He sees that Norman has locked the door and then Norman brings a wooden plank to cover the bathroom window. Norman nails it there and then walks away, and Alex gets a text from Rocky that he shot Money, and she is hiding in the closet. Norman returns to the room, and Rocky, hiding in the closet, witnesses him open a hidden safe to check his valuables, and she also manages to see the lock code for the safe. After Norman departs, Alex comes from the restroom and joins Rocky in the closet. He proposes they contact the cops before Norman, but she insists on remaining silent. Rocky enters the combination she discovered to unlock the safe and begins placing the money into her suitcase. Alex realizes that the safe contains more than 300 grand, and Rocky proposes they depart. He informs her that the storm's cellar door is secured from the inside, which may be their exit. As they are about to depart, Norman appears unexpectedly, and both of them are taken aback. They watch as Norman takes Money's body away to be disposed of, and then suddenly the floor creaks under Alex's feet, causing Norman to realize that there is someone else in the house. He swings the gun in the air and points it toward Rocky, and out of fear they both stand holding their breath. Norman puts the gun down, but shoots the bag as a phone vibrates. He checks it and throws the phone in, and then he starts dragging Money's body back to dispose of it. Meanwhile, Rocky and Alex go down into the cellar and start looking for a way out. On the other hand, Norman smells something and finds Money's shoes there. But he also finds Rocky's shoes there, confirming his suspicion that there is another person in the house. He runs to check the safe and realizes that his money has vanished, which infuriates him. Meanwhile, Alex and Rocky are unable to find the escape door, and a girl assaults them, prompting a bell to sound, alerting Norman. Rocky and Alex are astonished to see the girl, who begs for their assistance. However, Alex urges that they leave immediately. As they attempt to leave, the girl shows them a piece of paper. Rocky approaches her and finds a piece of newspaper, believing she is the same girl who murdered Norman's kid. Rocky insists that they need to get her out of there, but Alex, concerned about time, suggests they leave and call the police to come back for her. Cindy directs them to a side where they notice a safe. However, their attention is quickly diverted as they realize Norman is rapidly approaching the cellar. Alex asks Rocky for the code and opens the safe, inside which they find a bunch of keys. They try to free Cindy with that key and Rocky says she doesn't care what she did, but she will get her out of here. Now they attempt to flee from there with her and they also find the door to go out, but Alex notices that it is locked. Alex uses the keys to unlock the lock, and Norman confronts them. He shoots Alex, followed by many more bullets, resulting in a somber stillness, and Rocky realizes that one of the bullets has struck Cindy, who collapses in front of them. Norman descends the stairs, firing at Alex and Rocky as they try to flee and hide. As he descends, he comes upon Cindy's lifeless body, and both Alex and Rocky notice that he is greatly upset by her death, and he begins yelling, overcome with sadness and rage. He then locks the cellar door, while Alex informs Rocky that they will leave through the front door. Now as they start running away from there, Norman turns off the lights of the entire house.
Now you're gonna see what I see.
Both of them start looking for a way out. Eventually, they discover a door. However, when they come out, they are stunned to see the dog. Alex instructs Rocky not to run, gives her the keys, and asks her to try opening the door. As Rocky attempts to open the door, Alex keeps the dog's attention on himself, and the dog calms down. Suddenly, Norman starts banging on the door, causing the dog to charge at Alex. Both Rocky and Alex rush upstairs to the bedroom, blocking the door with a cupboard. Alex notices that the windows are also blocked, and they realize they are trapped. On the other hand, Norman also comes out of the cellar and retrieves another gun from under his bed. Alex says that by pressing the panic button they can call 911 and summon the police, while Rocky worries about legal consequences. But Alex explains that the situation is a robbery versus kidnapping and murder, so the police won't prioritize their presence or motives. Just then, Norman shoots the lock, and they discover a vent in the chamber via which they may escape. Alex tries to keep Norman from going inside, and Rocky manages to climb into the vent in the process. Soon after, Norman violently opens the door, and the dog enters the room and attacks Alex, causing Alex to smash the window and fall out, and the glass on which he lies unconscious progressively cracks. Meanwhile, Norman's dog follows Rocky's scent into the vent and begins to approach her, leading her to leap down to avoid him. Norman is distracted by the sound of her falling and approaches her. As this happens, Alex regains consciousness and starts rolling very carefully to one side, but suddenly, he sees Norman standing at a window, pointing a gun at him. He shoots at him, causing the glass to break and Alex to fall down. Alex immediately gets up and attempts to activate the alarm by pressing the panic button on the remote. However, Norman appears in front of him and starts shooting. Norman then attacks Alex with a shovel, and amidst the chaos, he accidentally turns on the washing machine. Alex tries to reach the gun, but Norman turns off the machine, hits Alex, and attempts to kill him by strangulation. As Alex tries to pick up the gun, Norman throws him back, causing the gun to fall away. He then strikes Alex in the face, knocking him down, and grabs the remote from him. After that, he grabs a gardening scissor and murders Alex with it. Meanwhile, Rocky awakens to find herself severely injured. To escape, she finds a vent opening and rips it open, but Norman grabs her and takes her down. Rocky tries to go, but Norman grabs her bag and strangles her until she is unconscious. Rocky eventually regains consciousness and finds herself in the cellar, pleading with Norman to let her go. She explains that she understands Cindy killed his daughter, and he wanted her to pay, and she promises not to tell anyone. Norman responds that she understands nothing, emphasizing that only a parent can know the bond between a father and his child. He reveals that Cindy should have gone to prison, but wealthy girls like her don't end up in jail. Rocky argues that none of this will bring his daughter back, to which Norman counters that it's not entirely true. He explains that Cindy took his child away from him, so he thought it was only fair that she give him a new one. Shockingly, he reveals that Cindy was pregnant with his baby, and Rocky inadvertently killed them both. He asserts that they would be alive if they hadn't broken into his home. On the other hand, we see that Norman actually left Alex alive. He emerges with a hammer, and Norman's dog starts to attack him, but Alex locks the door as he enters the room. Meanwhile, Norman buries Cindy's body. Rocky begs God for rescue, but Norman claims there is no God and asks her to explain why God would allow this. Following this, he begins hanging Rocky and claims that he is not a rapist and never forced himself on Cindy. He vowed to let her free as soon as she had a kid, but she is no longer with him, and he has had enough of waiting. He then uses a scissor to cut her trousers and fills a tube with his frozen sperm. He says there is nothing a man cannot do once he accepts the fact that there is no God. Seeing him moving towards her, Rocky gets very scared and starts crying, but he tells her that after 9 months, he will give her life back to her. Now he is about to enter his sperms inside Rocky when suddenly Alex attacks him and knocks him unconscious. Rocky gets up angry and starts beating Norman, and she shoves the tube filled with his sperm into his mouth. Alex calms her down, and while he picks up the bag and his remote, Rocky tells Norman that he is going to rot in prison for what he has done. Alex says they can't involve the cops now, because if they steal $1 million in cash and then lead the cops here, he will tell them about them. Their blood is all over, so they will get to them in a second. Norman says they got what they came for and instructs them to get out of his house. Alex tells Rocky that he is buying their silence by letting them take the money. However, he tells her that whatever she chooses, he will be beside her. They decide to depart with the money, but when Alex opens the door, Norman shoots and kills him. Rocky gets to escape the home and attempts to flee. After traveling some distance, she comes to a halt, turns, and informs Norman that he is worthless out here. At that point, Norman's dog emerges from the house, and Rocky attempts to flee, successfully jumping over the fence. She then takes another path to her car, but the dog grabs her luggage before she can get in. Then she sees that the window on the other side is open and the dog tries to enter through it, but after a lot of effort, she manages to close it. Now the dog stands on the hood of her car, and Rocky notices that there is no key in the car, causing her frustration to intensify. Rocky makes a plan to trap the dog in the car and she opens the trunk of the car, and as soon as the dog comes inside the car to pounce on her, she closes the trunk door. But suddenly the dog comes out from behind the seat and tries to pounce on her, but she opens the door and jumps out. Now, as she is about to leave, Norman catches her from behind and renders her unconscious. He drags her back into the house and throws her on the floor. In that moment, Rocky notices a ladybug on her thumb and sees the remote in Alex's hand. Norman takes out his rifle, but Rocky hits the button, setting off the security alert. With this diversion, she uses the chance to conceal and assault Norman. However, the alarm immediately sounds. Undeterred, she continues her onslaught, leading him to tumble into the cellar, where he is shot by his own pistol, and Rocky escapes before the police arrive. We later find Rocky with her sister Diddy at a railway station, where she hears the news on TV about Norman, who murdered 2 burglars who assaulted him. He sustained some injuries, but doctors say he is in stable condition and will be released from the hospital soon and able to return to his home, and no goods were reported stolen by the victim. Rocky and Diddy then depart to board a train to Los Angeles, and the movie ends here. Don't forget to give a like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support would be appreciated. I hope to see you next time.